One of the great what-if stories in University of Tennessee, if not all of football history, has rallied to regain control of his life, and he was the subject of a recent feature by Cheaston Sussel Vols 247 partner WBIR-TV. Tony Robinson, a former star quarterback and Heisman Trophy contender at Tennessee until suffering a torn ACL that ultimately turned his life down a dark path, told WBIR that helped straighten out his life, moved back to Knoxville from his native Florida and spent his time giving back to a community that gave so much to him. Robinson, who spent years in prison for various offenses, mostly drug-related offenses, has been a free man since 2008 and now paints houses during the day and spends much of his nights and weekends coaching kids and officiating high school sports in the Knoxville area. "It's important to let the kids know just because you got in trouble before doesn't mean your life is over with," Robinson told WBIR. "You can still turn this thing around and still be a positive role model." Robinson's senior at Tennessee started brilliantly, as he led the Vols to a 3-1 record and one memorable Sports Illustrated cover in their first 5 games, despite 4 of those games coming against top 15 ranked opponents. But just 3 weeks after an upset win over top-ranked Auburn, a game that began with everyone talking about Tigers star Bo Jackson's Heisman chances and ended with Jackson suggesting to reporters that perhaps Robinson was a better Heisman candidate, Robinson got sandwiched in between Alabama defenders Cornelius Bennett and Kurt Jarvis and suffered an ACL tear that ended his college career. The 1985 Vols rallied behind backup quarterback Darrell Dickey and finished as SEC and Sugar Bowl champions, but 3 days after the Vols ended that with a shocking 35-7 win over second-ranked Miami, Robinson and a teammate sold cocaine to an undercover Knoxville Police Department officer and were arrested. When he hurt his knee in the Alabama game, "All of us remember the hit," voice of the Vols Bob Kesling told WBIR. "The guy came low and kind of jacked his knee backwards, and those type of injuries back then were devastating for quarterbacks. A lot of us were just hoping that he was going to pull this all together, and the carrot out there being able to play for the NFL, and maybe that would be the thing that brought it all together." Former Vols quarterback Tony Robinson, but at WASNT. Robinson spent much of his adult life in prison, but during that same period he did and probably earn his NFL moment, an unforgettable moment. Tennessee's former quarterback, a player whose talents were Hall of Fame material, according to several coaches, got a work release order from prison and signed with the Washington Redskins during the NFL's 1987 strike, and he spent the first few games as a backup for the so-called Skakins before getting a chance to play when starter Ed Robert went down with an injury. Robinson's lone game came against the Dallas Cowboys, what just had 20 players, including 2 future Hall of Famers, cross the picket line to get back on the field to face a Redskins team that was still comprised exclusively of replacement players. The former Vols star took advantage of his opportunity, completing 11 of 18 passes for 152 yards and leading Washington to a 13-7 shocker over its biggest rival in what's often referenced as one of the biggest upsets in football history. It was a made-for-Hollywood story, and it indeed turned into a Hollywood story. Keanu Reeves' Shane Falco character in the 2000 film The Replacements was based loosely on Robinson. The strike ended the following week, though, and Robinson and the rest of the Skakins were released. Robinson hoped his performance would allow him to sign with another NFL team, but the call never came. Apparently, with Tony's baggage, nobody wanted to take a shot on him, Kesling said. Robinson was forced to head back to Knoxville and turn himself back in to finish his prison sentence. That unfortunate cycle, prison, release, arrest, prison, repeated several times until 2008, when the former quarterback promised himself he'd leave that life behind for good. Things have indeed improved, though. Robinson has remained a free man and reconnected with family, and the Redskins finally changed course and chose to issue Super Bowl rings to him and the rest of the Skaskin players whose 3 wins helped the team eventually make the playoffs and win the game's biggest trophy.